Hello everyone. So today what we're going to do, we're going to go through UVing and editing, UV editing our hammer for tutorial 4. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up my scene and set up my project folder before starting. So one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hide my lights. Don't need this right now. I'm going to hide my plane. I'm going to turn off my light preview, which is right here at the top. You can also press 5 to switch to that. And I'm also going to turn off my shadow preview here. I hid the plane, and I can always double check in my outliner. Yeah, it's hidden. And then I'm also going to hide the spotlight as well. And I'm going to take this hammer, because it's on its side, I want it back to the neutral pose that I had it before. So to do that, I'm going to go to all the rotations with that object selected, and I'm going to press 0 for all of rotate X, Y, and Z. Okay, so now I have my object. I'm going to turn off my resolution gate. And now I'm going to click File, Project Window to create a new project folder. And when I save this specific scene into the new project folder, um, it will save there. So I'm going to click on New on the window that pops up for Project Window. I'm going to give it a new name. So right now I do have a subfolder for all the class stuff that's done in the classroom. Um, so I'm just so you know why there's this subfolder here. But I'm going to save this project folder that I'm making in Maya. I'm going to save it into this subfolder. And I'm going to give it a name. So last name, first name, tutorial 4. This will be UV and editing the hammer. I'll hit accept. And then I'm going to go to File, Save Scene As. And when I do that, you'll notice, that new folder that I just made in Maya is here. So I'll give it a new name, last name, first name, tutorial 4. So now I'm able to export this into that new folder, is basically what this is doing. Okay, save as, and I save mine as a Maya ASCII file, and that should suffice. I'll click on Save As. So now that I have this, now I'm going to break this up. Now my workspace is, I have everything already left as before. You know, the directional lights, they're all there, so I don't lose any of that information. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to break this down. Same thing that we did with the box. I'm going to break each section, each subsection of this hammer as top, side, front, and back. Okay, so we can work on this with the top portion of the hammer, and then we can break this same dimensions with the handle of the hammer. Okay, and we're going to use a combination of the cylindrical projection as well as the planar projection. So the planar projection was pretty simple. It's a matter of selecting the faces that you want for that specific side, and then selecting the axis that you're looking through. So if I'm selecting the faces here, right, these for the side portion of the hammer, this would be through X. This dimension would be through Z. You can kind of see it down here in my axes orientation here. You'll notice Z is kind of meeting at the intersection of Y and X. That's because we're looking right through Z. If I rotate my camera and I start selecting the faces here for the top of the hammer, well, this will be Y. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to start breaking down with the easiest sections first. The easiest parts are going to be things that are very easy to spot and define. So the front portion of the head of the hammer, where it hammers, the handle itself. We kind of notated in class that the hardest part would be this inside crevice area. So we'll save that for last, or near the end. So I'm going to go ahead and select the faces here. I'm also going to switch my workspace to UV editing. All right. And again, like we've said before, anything brought into as a primitive shape, so this started off as a cube, we kind of see the UV shell as such, right? So what we have here. I'm going to kind of put this to the side. Oh, lies. Let's see if I can drag select the whole thing. Just so we know everything here is what we have left to do. So I won't put anything here as I'm working, just to kind of, I know I didn't do this in class, but just as another trick as far as keeping tabs of what you have left and what you're not accidentally moving across the editor. So first things first, we're going to select the face, a series of faces, and again, keep tabs on what set of faces you're going up to, making sure that they're defined lines and shapes here. So I'm going to select this set of faces and I'm going to go to UV. I'm going to click on the option box for planar and I'm going to keep this open as I'm working. So I'm going to click on the Z-axis because when I have the move tool open and reset by pressing W again, so you'll press W twice to do that. You'll notice that blue is pointing directly toward me. That means I'm looking through the Z-axis. So I'm going to hit apply, and there we have it. And then I need to unfold it. So what unfold will do is it will flatten out the shape and stretch it into the proportions that it is in the camera. It will also flip the views that are in the negative view. So for instance, if I go to view and I click on shaded, or if I press 5, this is already blue, so it doesn't need to be flipped. But when I do unfold this, so shift right click in my editor, unfold, unfold along you. If you're wondering which one to do, just stay consistent. So if you do unfold along you, you stay with you. Um, the only difference is it'll adjust the width based off of the length with you, and with V it does the reverse. It'll adjust the vertical um, dimension. So it'll adjust the V dimension for that shell. So I have this shell put aside, and then I'll go ahead and work on another section. So I'll go ahead and I'll select let's work on the bottom part of the hammer, or the handle. So I'm going to select this ring of faces. So I have these selected. I'll press W just to see if my manipulator is um, selecting a random section by mistake. I sometimes will click somewhere that's not supposed to be selected. So in this instance, I'll press W again to reset, and you'll see Y is the axis I'm looking through here, because I see red, I see blue, but green is pointing directly at me, meaning that Y is the axis we're looking through, because it's also looking up and looking down is looking through the axis of Y. So I'll hit apply and switch it to Y and then hit apply. Same thing. In my editor, put my mouse there, over the shell, shift, hold down my right mouse button, unfold, unfold along you. And some ways to kind of tell that you're not getting any distortion in your shells, that would lead to distortion in your textures, would be to do a texture preview or a checkerboard preview. So by clicking on the checkerboard icon here, or under textures, you can click on checkered map. The goal of this is to have boxes. Okay, so here you'll see, well, I have a lot of stretching, a lot of distortion here, which is what we don't want. And let's look at what else we've done at the top of the hammer. So again, we have boxes here. Perfect. Again, I'm going to keep this window open, and I'm going to turn off the checkered map. And next, I'm going to do the handle of the hammer. So one way to go about this, as far as the selection, I'm going to go up to this little crevice here. This little crevice here. And then Just going to go down the line. So shift select the first one and then double click the one next to it, because this would mean that these are all edge loops. So it makes it easier to select. You could also do the brush selection, but you would have to rotate your camera for this. Okay. Actually, I might go to the brush selection now. So I'll click on the brush selection, and now I don't have to hold down shift, but I do want to stop at where I did the bottom shell here for the handle. So I don't want to go past to this face here, because that's what I just did, and you can kind of see it in my editor how it's highlighted here. I don't want to redo that and have it part of another shell when I just already had that unfolded before. Okay. Just might do it like this since they're already edge loops here. So shift select the first one, holding down shift, double click. These are not edge loops here, so I do have to manually select them. It's not too many. But then the ones inside here, I'll zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. I'll shift select this one and then double click the one next to it, and this ring of faces will be selected. And then I'll go ahead, shift select that one, shift select this one, and then double click this one. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a little final comb through and make sure everything is selected. You can always double check that if anything, if you zoom out in your editor, if anything, if any face from a shell that's already unfolded is selected, you can kind of tell, you can look for it and then deselect it in the editor while still holding shift. Okay, so now that I have that done, this will be a cylindrical map. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to UV up here at the top, in between deform and generate, and I'm going to click on cylindrical, and this little projection here will pop up. And what I'm going to do is take the red cube and close it out all the way to show that this cylindrical map is going in 360 degrees. What I'll then do is unfold this. Because you'll see here, by default, it will fit into this bounding box of the 0 to 1, 0 to 1 coordinate quadrant here. So I need to unfold it to get the proportions, that elongated proportion of this shape. So in my editor, shift, right click, unfold, unfold along U. There we go. So you can kind of see how this is matching more of the shape that we have in the camera. If I turn on my textured map preview, I have the squares that I want. I'll turn it off because it's very visually, it's a visual overload looking at the checkerboards for a long period of time. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do the cylinder portion of the top of the hammer. So same thing here, I'm going to select this first one. I'm going to hold down the shift key and double click on the one right next to it. Again, it'll select that loop of faces here. I'll select the one right beside it going up to that thick white edge on the left hand side, because that is the edge of this shell here where my mouse is, of the first shell that we made basically. So I'll select the first face holding down the shift key and then double click while still holding the shift key to select the ring of faces. And then now it's a matter of where do I want to end this shell. I think I'm going to go up to this point and then make these little triangle sections here part of the planar projection for the other part of the hammer. So I'm going to select the I'm going to hold down the shift key, select the first one of this ring of faces, and then double click on the one right above it. And it should select all of them. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select UV up here at the top. Same thing, a cylindrical map. I'm going to move this to the sides. I'm not going to close it, but just so you can kind of see this window better. So you can see our goal is for the shell in the editor to match the shape in the camera. So we have a big whirly mess here going on. That's because the orientation of the cylindrical map is going against the shape of, so it's perpendicular to the actual cylinder. It's not aligned with the cylinder. The goal is for this cylindrical map to wrap around the actual cylinder of this object here and in alignment. So to change the alignment of this map, you'll see down here at the bottom, I don't know if I zoom in, yeah, you can kind of see it a little bit better. You'll see this little red cross here. This red cross will open up the transformations for this map. So scale, uh, translate, rotation, right? So if I click on here, you'll see the universal manipulator here. So you'll see the icons representing those manipulations. What you don't naturally see in this instance is the rotation icons, right? The red and green and blue orbs. We need to unlock those, but they are there. And if we click on the blue circle that's wrapping around the transform and scale icons, then we can unlock that. And I'm going to rotate on the red axis in my instance. I think some of you do have your hammer uh, rotated in a different orientation, so 90 degrees from what I'm doing. So just look at the bottom left of your computer and make sure if it's opposite of what my computer is, you might be rotating on Z instead of X, but I will be rotating on X in my case. So I'm going to click on the red circle, highlight it, then click on it. And when I do that, you should see now um, the shell aligning itself. And now that I've done that, I mean, there's a little wonk here, but fear not, we can fix that real quick. And now what I can do is click out of this manipulation by clicking on the little red cross here again, and then take this red cube and enclose it entirely. And once I do that, then I'm going to shift right click, unfold, unfold along U. There we go. I'll fix this little little mishap, or not mishap really, but I'll fix this little imperfection here, right? This undefined line that's jutting out on the other side of the shell. I'll do that later in cleanup of the shells. So next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on the side, front, and back portions of the head of the hammer. Because that's really what I have left aside from the little cylindrical section here inside the hole. So I'm going to start with the sides. And again, I'm going to start with where I ended on the last shell. So I'm going to go to this face here where it's meeting up with the last shell. Because again, if I start here, well then I'm going to leave this random gap that hasn't been unfolded. And if it's not unfolded and you color it, you're going to have globs. Some are going to be looking like white noise that we have here, right? And some are going to be just really pixelated because they're not aligned with the orientation that we have here in the camera. So I'm going to select this face that meets up to the edge of the last shell that we made. And I'm going to go all the way to the side edge here of this part of the hammer. And I'm going to stop at the bottom here where it meets the handle. So again, we're breaking this down as planar surfaces of each section of the object. I'm going to select this triangle too. And this triangle is not um, an edge loop, so you would have to manually select it one by one. But these areas here are, so I can just select them section by section here. I like staying zoomed into the object just to keep tabs on where I'm clicking. I'm going to go all the way up to here because that's where it ends for that shell. And I'm going to mirror what I selected before. Actually, I might make this deselect that. That's going to be the other side. Live and learn, everyone. Live and learn. Yeah, okay. I I didn't select two small rows on the previous side, so I think that was just my mistake on what I was really selecting. And then go up here, and I'll move this so you can see this a little bit better. I'm going to hide the UV toolkit just so you can again see this section a little bit with more screen time and screen space. Okay. Ooh, that. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, that worked. Happy accident. Look at that. I might go up to here. I'll zoom out just to see what's left. Okay. Okay. I might deselect this. Yeah. All right. And I want to keep tabs of what I do here. I kind of want to match this on the other side. Um, so this view is X if you're guessing or if you're pausing the video and trying to figure out before I tell you. I did have the planar mapping options in a different monitor. I brought it back. So I'm going to switch this to X and I'll hit apply. Move this out of the way again. And here in my editor, I'm going to hold down the shift key. I'm going to hold down my right mouse button, unfold, unfold along you. Oh, I have a random face selected. Let's redo that. Press E, press E, press E. I gotta look for where, let's try that again. Deselect that, shift, right click in my editor, unfold. Oh, what am I doing? Lies. Try that again. Not unfold. Let's try that again. I'm gonna hit apply on my planar mapping options. Shift right click, unfold, unfold along you. There we go. Again, you can always double check how things are looking. It's on this side. Ooh, ee. Move this up. And then we'll go ahead and do the other side. Same thing, I'm going to just match what I did the last time. Oh, I did not hold down shift. Let's try that again. Ay, ay, ay. There we go. Okay, and now I'm just kind of combing through. Again, I'm going up to that white border, which is the edge of the shell from the handle. And I'm gonna see if that's what I did. It is. So this will be the same thing as before. This is X. I'll hit apply. And note that it's aligned in the same orientation as the previous shell. So this means I do have to flip it. So if I shift right click and unfold along you, it will flip itself when I do unfold. It adds it to the operation. There we go. So now it's a mirrored version of the other shell. So put this out of the way. Again, if I turn on the checkerboard map, you'll see the squares, which is what we're going for. Put this out of the way. And I'll go ahead and I'll do the top section of this hammer. I'm going to pause the video actually. This might be a good pause point of part 1 of editing. Make sure to increment and save. So I'm going to file, increment and save. I'm going to stop the video and we'll continue on in part 2.